All right, let's dive right in. We're about to peel back the layers on a true classic of psychological horror. And believe me, this isn't just some spooky story about a guy and his cat. No, this is a deep dive into the darkest parts of the human mind. We're talking guilt, violence, and that really strange, unsettling urge to do something wrong just because you know you shouldn't. So, get ready, because we are going to decode Edgar Allan Poe's absolute masterpiece, The Black Cat. So, right from the jump, we get a confession. These are the words of a man who's about to be executed, writing from his prison cell. And he says he's just going to lay out a series of, mere household events. But these are events that he claims have terrified him, tortured him, and totally destroyed him. It's an incredibly chilling way to kick things off, right?
Okay, so to really get how horrifying this guy's downfall is, you have to see who he was first. Before everything went wrong. The story doesn't start with a monster. It actually paints this picture of a really gentle soul. And that contrast? It's absolutely key to understanding just how deep he falls.
So, he tells us he was this super tender-hearted guy as a kid. He and his wife had all sorts of pets. Their house was basically a sanctuary. But his number one, his absolute best buddy, was Pluto, this big, smart, all-black cat who was his constant companion for years and years. But this pretty perfect life he's built, it all gets poisoned. And he gives it this really ominous name, the Fiend in Temperance. We're talking about alcoholism. And man, it's like the key that unlocks this dark, terrible part of himself he didn't even know was there. And you can just see the change happen. Look at this. On one hand, you've got the gentle guy he used to be. But then, a monster starts to come out. He gets moody, irritable, violent. He starts hurting his pets, even his wife, the very people and animals he used to love.
And this is where it gets really ugly. One night, fueled by gin, he commits his first, just truly awful act. His cat, Pluto, the one he loves so much, gives him a little nip out of fear. And the narrator just snaps. He's filled with this, what he calls fiendish malevolence. And he takes a penknife and cuts the cat's eye right out of its socket. That's it. That's the point of no return.
So, have you ever felt that little urge to do something you know is wrong just because? Like, for no good reason at all? Well, the narrator actually gives this impulse a name. He calls it perverseness. And he says it's this basic human drive to do wrong for the wrong's sake only.
And this is the part that is just bone-chilling. He ends up hanging Pluto, but not because he's angry anymore. No, he says he did it as a cold, deliberate act of this perverseness. He did it because he knew the cat loved him, because the cat had done nothing wrong. He is literally, knowingly committing a sin just to damn his own soul. It's wow.
So get this. The very same night that he does this horrible thing, his whole life starts to just completely unravel. It's like fate, or maybe something darker, steps in. A whole new disaster hits, and it seems like it's tied directly to his crime. He wakes up to screams of fire, and he and his wife barely get out alive, as their entire house just goes up in flames. Everything he owns is gone. The next day, he's just walking through the ruins, a total ghost in the middle of what used to be his life.
So he's there in the ruins, and a crowd is staring at the one single wall that's still standing. And what's on it? It's impossible. Burned right into the white plaster is this giant, perfect image of a cat with a rope around its neck. It's like a giant billboard of his guilt. There's just no escaping it.
Okay, so his mind is just racing, right? He's desperately trying to come up with some logical, scientific reason for this thing. He builds this whole story in his head about how someone must have thrown the cat through the window, and the collapsing walls, and the chemicals, and the fire. He's connecting all these dots to explain it away. But even with all that reasoning, that terrifying image is seared into his mind.
All right, so fast forward a few months. The narrator is kind of haunted by what he's done. He feels this thing that's almost remorse, but not quite. So, in this twisted way, he decides he wants to find a new cat. Maybe to replace the one he destroyed, maybe to feel better, who knows? And he finds one. In some sketchy tavern, he spots this cat, and it is an almost perfect, creepy double of Pluto. It's big, it's black, and get this, it's also missing an eye. The only thing that's different is this one patch of white fur on its chest. He takes it home, and his wife absolutely loves it right away.
But here's the thing. For our narrator, this new cat's affection is just torture. Every time it purrs, every time it rubs against him, it's a constant reminder of what he did to Pluto. So it started as, maybe some fondness, quickly turns into this bitter hatred. He starts avoiding the cat like it's the plague, like it's his guilt walking around on 4 legs.
And this is where the psychological horror just gets cranked up to 11. That one unique thing about the cat, that white patch of fur, well, it starts to change. Slowly, almost imperceptibly in the narrator's paranoid mind, it starts to take on a very specific shape, a terrifying shape. It becomes the image of the gallows, a sign of his own future hanging right there on the cat's chest.
Okay, so this cat, this walking, breathing symbol of death, it pushes our narrator right to the edge, and the story is about to hit its absolutely violent breaking point.
So one day they're going down to the cellar, and the cat trips him on the stairs. That's it. That's the final straw. He just snaps. He grabs an axe to finally kill this animal, but his wife stops him. She grabs his arm, and her getting involved just sends him into this demoniacal rage. He turns, and without a second thought, he buries the axe in her brain, kills her on the spot. And the crazy part is how calm he is about it. He decides the best thing to do is just wall her body up in the cellar. So he does it. And after he's finished this horrible task, he looks around and realizes the cat is gone. The source of all his dread has just vanished, and he feels this incredible relief. He actually sleeps peacefully that night with his wife's body bricked up in the wall.
So a few days go by, the police show up. His wife is missing, right? They search the entire house, top to bottom. They find nothing. And the whole time, our narrator is just cool as a cucumber. He's totally confident he's gotten away with it. The perfect crime. But just as the cops are about to walk out the door, his own arrogance is what brings him down.
He just can't help himself. It's that perverseness again. He gets so cocky, he starts talking about how well built the house is. And then, just to show off, he takes his cane and raps it, heavily, right on the exact spot in the wall where his wife's corpse is standing.
And a sound answers him, from inside the wall. It starts out as this muffled cry, but then it just grows into this long, wailing shriek, something totally inhuman. He says it was a sound half of horror, half of triumph, like it came straight from hell. You can just imagine the cops, right? They just freeze, absolutely terrified.
So the police just go at the wall, tearing it down, and there she is, his wife's corpse, already starting to decay. And sitting right on top of her head, with its one fiery eye staring out, is the cat, the hideous beast. He had walled the monster up inside the tomb with her. That cry wasn't just a cry. It was the cat, turning him in. It's the voice that sends him straight to the gallows.
And that leaves us with this one big haunting question, doesn't it? Was that second cat something supernatural? Was it Pluto's ghost back for revenge? Or was it just a cat? An ordinary animal that a guilty, mad mind turned into a monster that ultimately forced him to confess. Poe leaves you hanging right there, in that terrifying gray area between a ghost story and a psychological thriller.